Hello, warriors. Welcome to the You Movement. I am B. And I don't know if it's new moon in Aquarius or what is going down, but I had a day that was absolutely glorious. I felt energized, productive, and joy, just joy for no reason. Which brings me to the first thing that, I wanted to talk about is in society, we place all these expectations on when this happens or when that happens, then I can be happy. So to have happiness when nothing in particular is precipitating it is a miraculous emotion to experience. And that's what this whole awakening process has been. If you watched my earlier videos from my first or second year when I used to spend a lot of time editing them, sorry, I just don't have 5 hours a day to give to edit every single video. Maybe one year I'll have an editing crew and they can take care of all the visual doohickeys that go with it. But I used to talk about raising your vibe in regards to cultivating the energy of bliss. And what I meant by that is moving your way up the energetic frequency that is all of the emotions. You cannot go from deeply depressed, which is where I started from. So in the last 10 years, 2015, I began to slide into the depths of doom. And I went all the traditional path, like most people do. I'm depressed. I don't know what to do about it. I went and got pharmaceuticals my level of life was at apathy. Like, I just didn't care anymore. There was just zero joy. There was nothing left to celebrate in my life. Everything was feigning emotions when I could, I on the pharmaceuticals, I would, a weekend would come around and I'd have some wine and yay, I'm happy. Do I look happy? Is everybody buying that I'm happy? Do you think people are believing me that I'm happy? I wasn't happy. I wasn't happy. I was on that chart that I showed on those pictures many, many times. It's like a spiral of energy that moves its way up, and at the lowest ebb in the red ray, the root chakra ray, it is depression, apathy, despondency, all of those energies. To me, I was in the energy of it's going to be a slow wait till death. Yeah. I became really good at fake smiling. And if you see photographs of me from 10 years ago, my eyes look just dead, just completely and utterly dead. And so today I experienced at least 6 full hours of joy. That is a new energy for me, influence joy, because as you know, over the last 5 years, I've quit all substances. So in the past, I have experienced joy on cannabis. That had some really joyful moments. I've experienced joy doing microdosing. That lifted me up. I experienced joy, as I said, with a shot of tequila and a cigarette in my hand. I experienced joy if something happened that was really, really good. Yay, this really good thing happened, and so now I can celebrate joy. But to just celebrate joy, I'm going to say that's never happened to me in my life. Absolutely, with no other external influences. And I've been plugging away at climbing that out of my pits of depression and apathy and despondency and despair and all of these energies. And you've observed me for the last 3.5 years, but I have been climbing for 5 solid years. Beginning of 2020 is when I had my diagnosis of diabetes. I then was put on more meds I had chronic pain, so I was put on more meds. I was put on metformin for the diabetes, gabapentin, and I was on the pharmaceutical, the SSNIs, because I tried so many antidepressants for the depression and the fibromyalgia. So it was a shit show. It was an absolute shit show. And I began the journey. I opened the door out of my comfort zone, peeking out and saying, okay, if I don't save myself, it is going to be a steady decline. So it looked like this. 2015, let's start back even further. Let's go 2009. I had some hope that things were getting better in my life. And then 2010, they began to go down. 2015 hit another plateau, had a burnout, went down. 2018, 19, being tested and diagnosed and given diagnoses. General anxiety disorder. Here, have this disorder. Oh, here, you need another disorder. Let's give you manic depressive disorder. How about we try agoraphobia on for size? We'll give you that disorder as well. We're just going to hand out, like little hockey cards. And I was collecting them all as I continued to go down into the pit of dark night of the soul. But like most people out there, I had no idea that I was going through spiritual awakening because I didn't have my aha. So 2015, burnout, starting to decline. Things started to go really shitty in my world. Then, as I said, I tried to go all the regular routes. I had no conscious awareness that I was in an awakening process until December of 2019, when I had the alarm clock went off and bing, 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 the buzzer was ringing in my ear, literally, because that's another symptom, but the buzzer was ringing in my ear, and I was told to save myself. I looked at the life situation that I was in, the marriage that I was in, and I knew if I didn't do something, it was going to be a steady decline, and it wasn't going to be that far off. Death was not going to be that far off, because I was just accumulating not only disorders, I was also accumulating diagnoses of health conditions, one on top of another. So I began the mission of the Unfuckening Movement to start to unfuck my life. And that meant unfucking my body, but unbeknownst to me, yet another, because you're not told you're awakening. You don't know what's happening to you. I do want to say that in this time, I had many crossovers between 2015 and I had many crossovers with my twin, but had no conscious awareness whatsoever that any major energy exchanges were going down, which obviously they were. Hindsight is 20/20, as they say. And then in 2021, I had my spontaneous Kundalini, soul recognition, heart activation, and my awakening sped up to like an awakening on speed. So, spiritual awakenings go along slow and steady, not so nice experiences. They are difficult, but they're manageable. Kundalini is like, it's like being on the Autobahn in Germany or something like that, or a speed train in Tokyo. they speed it up. So if you're having a twin flame situation, awakening, or a Kundalini awakening, which you probably are because you're watching my channel, otherwise you wouldn't be interested in what I have to say, then your awakening is an awakening on speed or awakening on steroids. It's just insanity. How quickly changes happen and how much change you actually go through. The who I was then is not the who I am today, obviously. And in getting me there meant, as I said, processing all these emotions. So I want to talk a little bit about emotions today on an awakening path, because there is a war on emotions, and we need to stop the war on the emotions. And we need to start feeling again. That is our biggest issue with our health and wellness, is this disconnection from our natural, intuitive, instinctual way of being. So we are born, stuff happens, and we over time learn to shut down our emotional centers, and we learn to overcompensate that shutting down because we're experiencing suffering. So as I've compared many times, imagine like somebody has told you that you're not allowed to pee. Now, how long can you go before you start to get very uncomfortable? And then you're told, hold it in, don't, you have a disorder. You keep talking about needing to pee all the time. That's a disorder. So I want to call out how many people are diagnosed with emotions. You don't have a disorder. What you have is emotions. Okay. So I want to call out because, listen, I'm not saying there aren't actual psychological disorders that exist in the world. I am saying that the society as a whole is overly using a DSM manual to describe conditions that are otherwise known as a case of emotions. You have a case of emotions that are unprocessed, okay? So before you believe that you have some serious disorder, and I have friends that have been very upset when they went to a psychiatrist and were told that it looked like they were presenting all of the symptoms of bipolar disorder. And now I'm not a psychiatrist, but I said to them, do that person who's in a professional seat know anything about Kundalini awakenings? Oh, no? So get a second opinion with somebody who knows something about Kundalini, okay? If you're going through a spiritual awakening, please do not believe somebody's diagnosis of you just because they have letters after the name. 1, they are not in your body. 2, they did not ask you about your history. 3, I don't even know if they've got any information on being trauma informed. 4, do they have any education whatsoever on spiritual awakenings? If not, get a second opinion. Get a third opinion. Get a fourth opinion. Get a group of opinions if you necessarily need opinions. Or how about this? Trust your own opinion. Trust your own instinctual knowing. When they tried to diagnose me with agoraphobia, I was like, you people are nuts. I'm not the nut one. I go to rock concerts in and amongst 100,000 people every year, and I feel happy as Larry. That was my moment every year of feeling as close as I could to this element of joy. But, at that, I was, of course, I'm being pummeled with all my favorite music. Of course, there was an element of joy. And yes, I was drinking or smoking or doing drugs during those cannabis, legal in Canada, at rock concerts. So I could not, their diagnosis, and how does one get a diagnosis? For a second, one gets a diagnosis by you answering questions. And then they look at those questions through a microscope, and then they formulate that based upon your answers, that it sounds most likely to be major depressive disorder or this disorder. At no time in my 30 years of going to many counselors did anybody ever say to me, except for one nurse once, "I think you have complex post-traumatic stress disorder." And I was like, what is that? And then I began to do my own research on trauma. And then at no point did anybody ask me, are you being abused? Do you think it's possible? And I went in my terrible marriage to at least 5 counselors. And the problem is when you are in a dysfunctional relationship with a narcissistic person is when you go into a counseling setting is they turn the charm up all the way. So they'd be the most charming person ever. And you'd walk out and you'd go, nothing's getting accomplished. So nobody ever looked at the dynamic as saying, okay, there's something seriously wrong here. Maybe there's a whole lot of gaslighting, manipulation, lying going on. Nothing ever got resolved. And nobody ever gave me anything, because that's the thing with gaslighting is it's like smoke. There's like nothing to hold on to. So what you might be suffering from is abuse. What you might be suffering from is emotions. What you might be suffering from is the human experience. And the human experience is not a disorder. And emotions are not disorders. And if you don't feel your feelings and you spend your entire life repressing them deep down and bottling them up and holding everything in and putting on a happy face and pretending everything is fine and everything looks perfect, and I'm going to work really hard, I'm going to drink my caffeine so that I have enough energy to clean the house and make everything look okay, and I'm going to mask so that I can fit in society. Yet another thing, nobody ever asked me or identified the fact that I am clearly autistic, which is not a disorder. Sorry, I refuse. I just simply refuse. After spending a lifetime being handed disorders, I simply refuse to see neurodivergence as a disorder. It is different. It is its own unique thing, but I will not take another term of disorder and label that on my body anywhere. I don't have disorders. What I have is a unique way of looking at the world that has quirks and twerks, and I do weird things. I talk weird at times, but hey, weirdness is not a disorder. And as far as I'm concerned, with my neurodivergent brain, I see a lot of inefficiencies and a lot of redundancies and a lot of patterns that other people don't see. So I see faster ways of getting things done. I see patterns so I see gifts. I see gifts that I've been given. Just because other people don't recognize those is irrelevant. And just because other people don't recognize trauma is irrelevant. And otherwise, other people don't recognize and value my emotions is irrelevant. So in this journey of unfucking my life, the main thing on this Kundalini awakening that I have had to learn to do is to feel. Is to feel all of the feels. Every single last one of them, without distracting. Oh, I'm feeling an emotion coming on. I'm going to turn the television on. I'm going to watch a movie. I'm going to play a game. No distracting. No denying. Oh, I shouldn't feel like this. That's not how I'm feeling. I'm happy. I'm going to high vibes only over top of what is really going on. So no denial. No distortions. So it's not that bad. It might be, it's not that bad. I'll be okay. I'll put up with it. I'll tolerate it. No twisting myself, tap dancing, this, that, or the other. Certainly no numbing. Got rid of the tobacco, the alcohol, the coffee, the nicotine, the cannabis, the microdosing, the food, comfort eating, the sugar, the all of the things. So what then would I do? Dear God, yes, that's what you asked. That is the question. When you start to feel a feeling, so you have to feel it. You sit in it, you get yourself into a hammock, you lie yourself into bed, you put yourself down on the yoga mat, and you breathe through it. And when I first started experiencing emotions that were unpleasant, first came grief. First came a lot of grief, and I cried for 3 solid years. And I cried for all of the hurts over my entire life that nobody ever acknowledged or recognized or apologized for. The way that I was raised, being adopted and abandoned, being bullied, being raped, multiple betrayals through the years. I cried and I cried and I cried. And then I got kind of used to crying. So I pulled myself out of depression, and then I was in a steady state of grief. But I didn't go to the doctor and say, I'm crying all the time. I think there's something wrong with me. Because it's called grief, and it's a human experience. And I had to release it out of my body. Had I known I was going to cry as much as I cried, I seriously would have bottled those things. I would have made a fortune on eBay. But I didn't have. Again, hindsight 2020. I'm not joking. Seriously, if people buy other people's socks and underwear, used underwear on eBay, they would definitely buy human tears. And that might have supported me when I lost my job. So grief was something that I got quite comfortable doing, and allowing the tears to flow and soothing myself using the Ho'oponopono prayer. And I'm so sorry they did that to you. I'm so sorry that you experienced that. I am so sorry, that hurts. I'm so sorry. And I cried every flavor of tear imaginable. I cried them all. I cried soft, slow tears that just took their sweet time coming down their cheek. I cried wailing, snotty, messy cries. I cried sorrow. I cried anguish. I cried and I cried and I cried. And then my awakening took a turn, and it took a turn into a really dark, scary place. And that's when PTSD symptoms started arising, and that would have been around the time that my mother decided to tell me that I was unlovable, incapable, and a very difficult person. And I hung up the phone and cut her off. That was PTSD inducing because she was my primary trauma bond, as most of us who have been on this crazy awakening wake up to the reality as empaths that we are enmeshed with narcissistic individuals. And I'm talking about the traits because although a counselor of mine who was a specialist, and I will repeat, a specialist in personality disorders, she actually did have a disorder. And where did that disorder originate from? Most definitely her own trauma. And I have empathy for her in her trauma and her life experiences, that she turned into a human that was incapable of love. And instead used her children as props to create the illusion of a life that wasn't real. So any outsiders looking in might have perceived a family, but from the inside looking out, that's not what was going down. So there was a lot of anxiety and panic when I broke free from my first real trauma bond. And in and around that time, I also broke free, not my choice, from my second trauma bond, which was my best friend of over 20 years. And losing those two people, and at the same time, I had asked for a divorce from my third and most painful trauma bonds. So the three most important people in my life, other than my son, all I was losing in and around all within 1 year's time. And that triggered severe anxiety in me and severe PTSD. And these emotions, and I've done some videos on them, were harder to transmute through. And so I had to learn how to handle panic and how to handle anxiety. And with all of my experiences and all my fails and tryings of different things, I will recommend anyone out there cold showers. For sure. Definitely breath work has been exceptionally useful. And that's when I came up with the idea to start using a timer and saying, because when I was in panic, it felt like death was imminent, like I would die. Because I was also experiencing with these releases ego death, because ego, as I have said in many, many videos, is given the mission to protect that your inner children and stand in front and keep all of those emotions locked up for you. And so as we're releasing these emotions, we need to beat ego into submission and say, get out of the way. We're letting these emotions finally come out. And ego doesn't like it. So ego is going to tell you that you're crying too much. You should go to the doctor. There's something wrong with you. You're experiencing anxiety. There's something wrong with you. You have a disorder. And you're not going to listen to your ego either. Okay. Talking about experts. Your ego is not the expert here. Your ego is a liar. And so ego would be in my ear going, something's seriously wrong. This is a doom. Oh my God. Ah. And I would set the timer 25 minutes and said, for the next 25 minutes, I'm going to shake it out. I'm going to scream. I'm going to get up on the ground. I'm going to stamp my feet. I'm going to do whatever I need to do to release this. Then my awakening took another nosedive into a world that I can only describe as some science fiction movie that should have been starring Sandra Bullock. Like some serious post-apocalyptic horror was what my life turned into the day that my ex-husband decided to finally confess his sins to me. One of which, although all of them were like having a nuclear warhead land on my head, my brain, splitting my brain completely in two. So here I already had PTSD, and he admitted that when he was younger, he had molested 3 children. He also admitted that he had never actually loved me, that the entire relationship was a lie. That's over 10 years I was with this person, and they were my everything. So I thought, and that the entire time he had in fact been lying, manipulating, cheating, reactionary abuse, abusing, like raging at my son to create triangulation with many other people, financial abuse. He admitted to all of these. Now, most of you out there are not going to get a confession, and you may want one, but trust me, you don't. You really don't. Not one like I had. And I went, as I said, my brain, I couldn't I couldn't comprehend. I couldn't comprehend. And my initial response to having this information was to forgive him. So I want to do a little side conversation here and talk about forgiveness. I've been wanting to do a video for a while on forgiveness. And I think it's one of the worst things that society tells people over and over and over again on the healing journey. You need to forgive, you need to forgive, you need to forgive. You don't. You don't need to do that. In fact, that's a really dangerous, very, very dangerous piece of advice for any person that has been raised in an abusive environment where they have continually been forced to forgive for their very survival. So you would be abused and then you learn, your immediate response is, I need this person to stay alive because I can't afford rent as a 3-year-old. Or I can't move out as a 5-year-old. I have nowhere to go, nobody to talk to. So what do you have to do but to forgive? And of course, society is telling you all the time that you need to forgive people their wrongdoings. And then let's add into the element, if you also happen to be on the spectrum and neurodivergent, we take things very literally. So forgiveness. And so you learn a knee-jerk reaction that forgiveness is absolute. And what that does is it disables all of your natural instinctual boundaries and self-protective mechanisms that you have in place to keep you safe. So you learn not to be safe. You learn to keep yourself vulnerable and exposed to dangerous individuals that are using and manipulating you through your empathy. And so be forewarned that empathy, compassion, and forgiveness all can be weaponized against you. So that's just a little side thing. So if you're asking my impression on what forgiveness is, I look at it now with everything that I have been through as it's like a debt that is owed to me. When somebody does something wrong to you, and when a company is not paid, they sell their debts to a collection agent. Okay, so I don't want to hold on to the anger and hold on to the debt, and I don't want to manage it myself. I don't want those types of energies. So instead, I'm going to take all of this stuff and I'm going to give it to a debt collector. And that debt collector is God. You don't like the word God, spirit, the creator, source, whatever. And say, okay, you take this debt because I can't forgive this person. I can't forgive this debt, this energetic debt, because they stole from me my physical health. They stole from me my mental capacity and reasoning. They stole from me my sense of safety. They stole from me my nervous system and security in the world. So those are big debts that need to be paid off, and they're not going to pay them directly because there's no I'm sorry's in the world that can forgive those things at all. They're unforgivable. When somebody fucks with your health to the point that you are sick, and fucks with your mind to the point where you are disordered, and fucks with you to the point where you no longer feel safe in the world, those are not forgivable things. So we're going to give all those debts to God and say, God, can you take these debts from me, please? I'm going to give them to you. I'm going to cry the tears to you, and you take care of it. And God will handle it in own time, own way. It's not your problem anymore. So you can forgive it to God. Okay, forgive it to source, but don't forgive as somebody who abuses you, because that only keeps the pathway open for them to do it again and again and again. And as I said, that was my original response. When I originally received this confession, I went into such an extreme state of cognitive dissonance, it actually brought me closer to them. Because I had a nervous breakdown. I shut down. I became in like hyper arousal state of total panic, and at the same time I'm having extreme pain. I was having kriyas and shaking, and I was terror. Okay, so now we're dealing with new emotions, and these emotions are terror. And terror and fear are emotions that you may or may not face. And I understand on this awakening, these outer situations are designed to help us release the energies that are already in us. So if I didn't already have locked in my body, in my little itty bitty child body, terror from being abandoned and adopted, and terror from being hit, and terror from being abused as a child, I wouldn't need these extreme situations outside of myself to trigger these releases. So this insane situation outside of me was happening at the same time I'm having all these legal issues surrounding my house and safety and all of that. So terror and fear became the emotions that I next had to deal with and address through my awakening. And I have spent countless days crying, countless days lying on the grass, simply not able to do anything else, especially over the last year. So so you're aware of this, because if you ever find yourself in these situations, I want you to be aware that this is normal, because while as normal as it can be in an absolutely abnormal, crazy situation. As I said, I received the confession for about 4-month window there. That was used as a tool to hoover me and try to pull me back into the relationship. There was a lot of, I didn't love you then, but I love you now. And now look how you need me to take you to all your appointments, your health care appointments, because look at you, you're a mess, and I'm going to take care of you. And I'm going to, it was full on. And so I was in such a state of cognitive dissonance I need this person, I care about this person's the only person that's here for me, and this person is a monster. It came around at a later stage that I was lied to again, and in that moment, because I had also been accumulating so much information and watching so much on covert narcissism, that I knew in that moment it was finally time to pull the plug and go no contact. And going through no contact with a very trauma bonded situation felt like withdrawing from heroin. Now, I've never withdrawn from heroin, but if I imagine what heroin was like, that's what this was, because your brain has been chemically hijacked. And this is why I say they steal your brain. They actually steal your brain. And for a very long stretch, it was torture. It was torture. What I was experiencing. And yes, my awakening has not been easy. By no means. It has not been easy. So terror became a routine emotion that I had to learn to sit in and experience. And as I said, shake, cry, scream, release, use yoga, use walking, use trigger point therapy, use all kinds of things to help facilitate an environment affirmations on the wall, mantras on the wall, soft soothing music, aromatherapies, a long list. If I had any emotion or any issue, I would find the way to get myself through that. And then once my brain started coming back online, which is like, it amazes me that I did any videos at all. It really amazes me that I had the capacity to do videos. And that shows the degree of masking and the degree of, masking of everything's fine when underneath all this crazy is going along. And at the same time, I'm having all these spiritual stuff happening that was scarier than scary. Maybe I'll do a video on that one day if you guys are interested in what it's like to have spiritual gifts come online while you're going through dark night of the soul and crazy 3D reality grumbling. I did end up last year, we're coming up to my year anniversary. In and around this time, I managed to get a quick divorce as fast as I possibly could, and then it took everything humanly possible in me to take this confession that was via text message. So it was all, I have it in text, and I emailed it to the police. So that was probably the moment of absolute terror for me, more so than many others. I recall that day I was lying on my yoga mat with my legs up against the wall, often excellent pose to be in when you're overwhelmed with emotion, and just allowing myself to shake and release, and it was brutal. Now, because it's a historical case, I don't think anything is coming of it, but I did what I felt was ethically and morally the most responsible thing that I could do. I didn't feel I had any other choice. If his victims ever come forth, then there's a confession waiting for them. So that, as I said, brings me up to last year, and then this last year has been all about regulating my nervous system, because coming to terms with everything that has happened, it has been utter insanity. And so this last year has a lot of time, as I said, grounding myself, lying in the grass, cold showers, learning to feel safe again, because I was robbed of even, nothing made sense anymore. All of the people that I had once depended upon to be my guides all turned into very manipulative and destructive people in my life. So I had to learn to deal with my own loneliness, to deal with my own in sitting in isolation and hermit energy for the last year, to face all of the fears, one after another, and fear is overwhelming. It was for me on my awakening. I know it's that way for many other people. So fear is a huge emotion. And then most recently, what I've been processing through, and this is what I feel was a major turning point for me, a major shift was processing through shame. And shame was hidden underneath fear and hidden underneath the grief and hidden underneath all of the PTSD and other emotions. So, when there was any release of emotion, and I've talked about how it's a little bit like a clusterfuck or like a fur ball, that has a lot of things intertwined in it, and digging. I've used and coined the term, go into the muck to unfuck, as much as you can be, and that's what we're doing. Emotionally, is we're going into the muckiest of places, and so you need to dig past the grief and understand the grief is surface. The grief is really surface stuff. And when you dig past the grief into another layer, you're going to deal with anxiety. And the anxiety is going to come up with being like, oh no, an emotion's coming. Shut this shit down. We don't need to emote. Emoting's wrong. I need to have a cigarette. I need to eat some sugar. I need to do something to stop this emotion. I need to take some medicines, and so when you don't, and you get past the anxiety and get past the panic, because then it's really going to turn into a red alert. No, there's emotions underneath this. You don't want to face these emotions. These emotions are even worse. And so then you get into the underneath emotions, and those emotions are fear. And you sit with all your fears one by one, and they whisper into your ear like demons arriving to you, telling you the worst of the worst. And that's why, don't believe half of what you hear from your own thoughts, because your thoughts are not accurate at all. And we go back to the basics of reparenting all the scared little inner children that we actually are, this terrified little inner child in there. And then you dig down even deeper. And then you get into the smelly stench that is shame. And I had shame around a lot of things through that came out, and dealing with those was pretty ick. Because when we start to look at some of the coping mechanisms that we've used to cope with the trauma, it can be shame-inducing. I look back to years when I was much younger and using sex and dating as an attempt to get love. I was like, oh, I wish I hadn't done that. But you need to practice, self-compassion and self-care and self-understanding and self-forgiveness in those moments when that shame is like, I didn't know better. I did the best I could in the circumstances that I was in, that I knew at the time. We make mistakes on our healing path, and using sex and relationship to try to get love for that 15-year-old me, or that 22-year-old me, or that 33-year-old me. There's so many old, I was 1,000 women before this woman that you see before you today, and each of them was just so desperately wanting to be loved, and that wanting, that desire was the root cause of the suffering, in that codependency. It was really tied in with a lot of shame. So to me, shame is the most insidious of all of the emotions that I've had to sit in and face over the last 5 years, because it was the deepest rooted, and it was wound very tightly around my beliefs around love, and feeling shameful for loving somebody that I couldn't have or couldn't be with. There was a lot of shame around that. That this whole twin flame thing. There was a lot of shame. Even the word, I'd be like, ugh. There was just a lot of shame of past mistakes, of what I perceived as present mistakes, and also perceived as failures and flaws within me. And you know, I had been shamed so severely as a child that, you know, that finger pointing out at you going, you're doing this wrong, you're doing that wrong, you're, you know, it has been a monumentous challenge. So this last round of Dark Night of the Soul that I just found myself in a couple of days ago, I was really sitting in the shame and really feeling it. And it was painful. And, you know, it was very connected into the heart space. And as I say, it for each of these energies and each of these emotions that have come up, it's like they each have their own flavor. They each have their own smell. They each have their own energy. You know, some felt like cold, hard metal. Some felt like, you know, a snake that was twisting and cutting off circulation. Some felt like little animals crawling on you, you know. So each emotion has its own energy, its own signature, its own entity, so to speak. And as they come up and and you're clearing yourself of all of this stuff, it's about sitting and clearing the most vile parts of yourself. It's knowing yourself so intimately in the dark and the shadow and the ick. So shame is I'm happy to be rid of shame. That was not a fun travel companion. Well, none of them have been very fun, to be honest with you. This journey has been hell. And I know it may sound absolutely wackadoodle, but the more I used the visualization of the hero's journey, Joseph Campbell's hero's journey, which in my mind turned into the Lord of the Rings movie. You know, I'd be experiencing certain things in my life, and I'd be like, oh, this is like when Frodo was walking through those marshes and being pulled down. Oh, this is like when Frodo was, you know, disabled. This is when Frodo's traveling companions betrayed him. This is when, and so in using that as just kind of a guide, as like imagery that I could use to show the landscape of what a hero's journey, my hero's journey was like, because most writers, movie makers, playwrights, and philosophies are all built upon, you know, a creative expression on something that's happening inside of you anyways. And so it was easier for me to identify my hero's journey as going through the landscape of this is the landscape of the mountainous range, and I need to be arduous and I need to work, and this is the landscape where I need to be like secretive and sneaky and quieter and notice what's happening, and this is the landscape where there's danger around me and I need to like watch, and this is the mucky stuff. And it was a tool. It was a visualization tool that kept me going when I honestly, there were more times that I can count that I didn't think that I was going to make it. I really didn't think I was going to make it through this awakening. Kundalini awakenings are no joke. I've said that I wouldn't wish it on anyone, but at the same time, I wish it on everyone, because if at the other end of it, they have managed to process through all of these emotions that are locked out and come to a place of greater compassion, greater love, greater empathy in the world, and be a spiritually mature human, then it's going to be for the betterment for all. So while traveling through hell, as Winston Churchill says, keep walking, it is not it's not the hell part I wish on anyone, but it's through the suffering, it's through the hell, it's through the triggering, it's through the muck, it's through the mountain ranges, it's through the exhaustion, it's through the feeling, every single solitary feeling, without distraction, without denial, without distortion, without numbing. It is through the suffering that one clears, purifies, and purges out all of those emotions that are keeping us in a pained state, in a diseased state, in a disordered state. Again, not liking the term disordered, because I think okay, I'm going to just say, I would say 90% of people that have disorders are suffering from trapped emotions, is what they're suffering from. And so if we can untrap the darkness that is within, and clear and purify ourselves, then we can all reach places of greater peace. I'm still not out of this. I still have things looming. But as I've come out this last round, feeling lighter and cleaner and clearer from the shame that once bound me. And there is a book called The Shame That Binds You by John Bradshaw. Very good book. I'll shout out to that one for anyone that's struggling with shame. When you can get out down into the depths of things, and I'm sure there's still some stuff lingering in there. I don't know where. I'm a pick of a person now. There's not much left in me, but the more we can clear this stuff out, then the more we have a chance for the new world to actually be born. Because it is born through the deep, dark labor pains, and it is born through releasing and facing each of these emotions. So whatever emotion you are facing, treat it like a travel companion that is along for the journey, on your hero's journey for a period of time. That won't be there with you forever. Everything is transitory. Everything does eventually pass. This too shall pass. So whatever, if you're in fear, it too shall pass. It may not pass quickly. Some parts of the journey may feel short, and some parts of the journey may feel like you're on an ocean liner and it's going to take you months and months to get through things. But just hold on, keep going, keep processing, keep doing the work. Yes, you will always want to be at the end and out the other side, and is this ever going to end? I had all of those things. It takes time, it takes time, it takes time. And if you have a lot of trauma like I had, it takes a lot of time. But you do begin to experience moments, and it's not like all of a sudden opening a door and you're in a different location. It comes in moments. I have no doubt there'll be more moments. It comes in moments, and today I had a moment, 6 hours of pure joy, with no outside influences, just joy. Went out for a walk and did a snow angel in the middle of like snow coming down, just because I could. Made myself a new joyous awakening playlist. So this is my Awakening 4 playlist on Spotify. If you want that, you want to feel a little bit, my music has shifted and changed through this, and so to have some empowering music coming out the other end, and then doing some cleaning around the house, and just feeling good, feeling freer, felt fantastic. It felt absolutely fantastic. So if nothing else, let me give you some hope that it does get better. You just have to climb through it one step at a time, one day at a time, one mountain range at a time, one breath at a time. That's all anybody can ask of you. And what you are doing as you are doing this is warrior work. What you are doing, you are a warrior. I am a badass motherfucking warrior. Oh man, man, oh man. Man, oh man, those emotions. So yes, if you are suffering from a serious case of emotions, which is the human condition, and you need some help transmuting through those, and you would like to book a one-on-one to discuss the tools and the techniques and the strategies that I used to transition through all of those things, please feel free to reach out and book a one-on-one Zoom with me. All of my services are by donation. And the way to do that is to send me off an email. I try to get the descriptions filled in as quickly as I can. I don't always manage it. So look back to another video, or, my email is there. Otherwise, it's just, the word just, the letter B, being, BEING, just being at gmail.com, or you can find me on Facebook as Be Freedom, BEE Freedom, and you can send me off a message, or you can find me on Telegram, and the way to do that is somewhere here too. I think if you go to the U Movement's main page, it has all the ways to contact me, or I'm also on Instagram, I'm also on TikTok. Not that I spend a lot of time on any of those these days, except for Facebook. I do because I like my groups. So feel free to book a one-on-one, and let's talk about the emotions that you are dealing with, and if you need some assistance with that. If you would like to join the Spiritual Warrior Support Group, the link to that is also in below. If you would like to donate and help me as I try to climb this next mountain, all donations are seriously appreciated. Yes, that's my next mountain, is climbing myself out of the 3D situation that I find myself in. But, I can't be shameful about that either. I did the best I could under insane circumstances. So I'm not going to beat myself up over the fact that I wasn't able to work while I was doing a Kundalini. I spent a large majority of time in my bed. That is reality. I'm not going to pretend that reality is something other than what reality is anymore. This is about being authentic, real, truthful. So yeah, financial instability is a nasty part of the spiritual awakening process for a lot of us. It is what it is. And so yes, any donations are greatly appreciated. It really helps dramatically. You have no idea. And with that all said, thank you for all the likes, the shares, the subscriptions. The more that we get the word out to everybody else who's suffering out there, because there's a lot of people suffering out there. How do I know that? Because I feel it. I feel the collective vibes, people. So yes, spread the word high and low, and to this person or that person if you think any of my messages might be able to help them, because I'm coming at things from a very different approach. And I know that there's lots of people out there that could maybe benefit from my messages. And with that all said, inner peace in and peace out to you.